Cesar Ferraz's gaze was like silent thunder. He watched Davy with a mix of disdain and suspicion, his eyes narrowed, as if already deciding the fate of an enemy. Welcome to Love Above All, Passion and Power Stories. Before we dive into this story, I want to give you a challenge. If you enjoy the first few minutes, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. He was just a street musician. She was the fiancée of a powerful, controlling tycoon. But when their melodies met, a passion was born, one strong enough to challenge an entire empire. Get ready for a story of love, courage, and music, where the truth insists on being heard even when the world tries to silence it. Ready to begin? Let's go. The sound of a saxophone echoed through the wet streets of Denver like an old lament. Davy played with his eyes closed, fingers gliding across the instrument, as if telling his own story, one of struggle, cold nights, and dreams that never found a stage. It was a night like any other. Until the crowd's silence was broken by a firm, distinct clap. Someone wasn't just listening, someone was truly hearing. When Davy opened his eyes, he saw a woman standing under a transparent umbrella, her dark eyes locked on him, as if each note had pierced her skin. "Did you compose that?" she asked, with a soft accent and a voice low and heavy, with something he couldn't quite define. Yes, he answered, swallowing hard. She was beautiful, flawless. A white coat that screamed wealth, stiletto heels, and hair pinned back with surgical precision. She smiled. "My name is Helena Vasconcelos. I'm organizing a private party. I need someone to play something real." Davy hesitated. It made no sense. He was just a street musician. But then she said a name that changed everything. "It's for Valentina Ferraz's birthday." The Valentina, the woman who ruled the American music industry, who also happened to be the fiancée of Cesar Ferraz, a powerful, cold magnate who owned half the city. Davy accepted, even without understanding why. 2 nights later, he was in the garden of a European-style mansion, surrounded by wealthy people and indifferent glances, until she appeared. Red dress, red lips, dark, intense eyes. "Valentina Ferraz!" She didn't smile. She just stared at him like she already knew who he was. "You're the street musician, right?" she said, approaching with a glass in hand and a challenging expression. "And you're the woman everyone wants to see, but who looks like she wants to disappear." She raised an eyebrow. "Who said I want to disappear?" "Your eyes." She bit her lip, glancing away for a second. When she looked back, something in her had shifted. "Play something no one would dare to play here. Something that makes them forget I'm Cesar Ferraz's fiancé." And Davy played. He played as if every note said what he couldn't. He played for her, because of her. When the final note faded, Valentina was still there, but now closer, much closer. "You have no idea what you've just started," she whispered, almost to herself. Before he could reply, Cesar appeared, tall, imposing, with steel eyes and a possessive hand on her shoulder. "Valentina, what are you doing with the musician?" She simply smiled, discovering new notes. But Cesar's eyes were fixed on Davy, and in that moment, Davy knew he was involved in something much bigger, much more dangerous, and utterly forbidden. What will Cesar Ferraz do about the closeness between his fiancée and the street musician? And why does Valentina seem to crave danger? Cesar Ferraz's gaze was like silent thunder. He looked at Davy with a mix of disdain and suspicion, his eyes narrowing as if already judging him. "Helena told me about you," Cesar said, his voice deep and cold. "You're talented, but here, talent isn't enough. Here, obedience comes first." Davy held his gaze. He wasn't the type to bow, but that man's presence imposed something beyond authority. It imposed fear. Valentina stayed between them, like she was trying to protect the moment, like she sensed something was about to break. "He's just playing, César. Relax, the party's for me, remember?" César narrowed his eyes, then forced a fake smile. "Of course, my love, all for you." He walked away, but the warning was clear, sharp as a knife. "Don't get any closer." Valentina turned to Davy as soon as César was gone. "You should leave before he changes his mind about paying you." "And what about you?" Davy asked. "Will you keep pretending this party is about music?" She smiled, but something in that smile was broken. "You have no idea what this party is really about." She walked away, firm steps, as if fleeing from something inside herself. That night, Davy didn't sleep. Her image, the red dress, the eyes screaming for help, the lips daring everything, was burned into his mind. He knew he was stepping into a dangerous game, but he couldn't stop himself. 2 days later, he received an anonymous message on his phone. No name, just one line. "You'll play again. Tomorrow, same house, but this time, for me, Valentina." The mansion was quieter that night, just the two of them. She waited for him in the main hall, barefoot, no makeup, a glass of wine in her hand. It was the first time he'd seen her without armor. "Do you know why I called you?" she asked. No small talk. "Because you're tired of smiling for people who don't hear a thing." She laughed softly, surprised by the accuracy of his words. "And you, Davy, why did you come?" He walked toward her slowly. "Because when you looked at me that night, I heard a melody I'd never heard before." "What melody?" she whispered. "The one of someone begging to be saved." "I don't want to be saved, Davy. I want to be seen." And then she kissed him. It wasn't romantic. It was urgent, raw, necessary. When they pulled apart, they were both breathless. "This can't happen," she said, forehead against his. "If he finds out—" "Then let it be just this once," Davy whispered, voice hoarse. But they both knew. This was just the beginning. The forbidden kiss triggers consequences. Someone is watching, and the sound of betrayal begins to echo through the halls of the Fiancée'S mansion. The taste of the kiss still lingered on Valentina's lips as she pulled away, her eyes shining, as if she'd just awakened from a long nightmare. But the silence that followed wasn't peace. It was tension. Davy sensed it first. A faint creak from upstairs, like wood giving beneath a footstep. He looked up. Nothing seemed out of place, but instinct was clear. They were being watched. "There's someone here," he whispered. Valentina froze. Her body, once surrendered, was now pure alertness. "César is in Brasilia, but he has staff, security, cameras." She rushed to the wall and pressed a hidden button behind a modern sculpture. A panel slid open, revealing a screen with multiple camera feeds. Davy stepped closer. "You monitor your own house?" "It's not my house. It's the most beautifully decorated prison in Denver," she typed in a code. A still image appeared, a figure standing in the upstairs hallway, hidden in the shadows. Someone was watching. But who? "You think it was him?" Davy asked, heart pounding. "César? I don't know, but he has eyes everywhere, and this was a mistake." She ran her hands through her hair, desire now overtaken by desperation. "If you regret it," Davy said, stepping back, "it's okay. I didn't come here to destroy your life." She turned to him, furious, eyes brimming. "This isn't about regret. It's about consequences. César doesn't love, he owns. And when he feels control slipping away, he destroys." Davy took a breath. "So you're just going to stay his, keep living in lies, in fear, at parties where no one hears your music?" She didn't answer. The answer would come days later. The following week, Davy was invited to perform at a charity event. Small, elegant, open to the public. When he arrived, shock. Valentina was there, front row, alone. This time she wasn't wearing red. She wore black, sober, elegant, and even more mysterious. The look she gave him was a silent whisper, a calling. Davy played, but not for the audience. He played for her, and she cried, unashamed, unhidden. When the show ended, she came close. No words. Just a folded note passed discreetly to his hand before she disappeared into the crowd. He opened it right there, heart racing. "Meet me at the old theatre behind Gallery 7. Tomorrow, midnight, come alone, bring only your music. V." Is Valentina ready to risk it all? Or is she playing a game Davy hasn't seen yet? What awaits at the old theatre? A refuge for love or the beginning of a trap? Night fell like a heavy veil over Denver. The city lights glowed in shades of gold and grey, reflected in rain puddles that glistened on the asphalt. Davy walked through the historic district, guided by the address Valentina had left, the old theatre behind Gallery 7. He knew exactly where it was. The place had been shut down for years. Once it had been a haven for musicians and indie performers, before massive corporations, like those of César Ferraz, turned art into a product for the elite. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a symbol. When he arrived, he pushed open a rusted side door, just like she instructed. The scent of mold and aged wood engulfed him. Silence reigned, broken only by the drip of water from the dusty ceiling. "I thought you wouldn't come," said a soft voice from the center of the stage. Valentina was there, sitting at the edge of the platform, legs crossed, wearing dark jeans, a loose shirt, and her hair down. No makeup, no sparkle, just her. "I almost didn't," Davy replied, approaching slowly. "I thought it could be a trap." She gave a sad smile. "With César, everything feels like a trap, but here, he hasn't arrived yet." "Yet?" "He buys everything, Davy. Places, people, even silence. But this theatre, this was the only place where I was ever truly happy, before everything." Davy sat beside her, saxophone still slung over his shoulder. "Tell me," he said, "tell me what bound you to him." Valentina drew a deep breath, as if diving into a past she never wanted to revisit. "I was just a small-town girl with a good voice and no direction. When I met César, he offered me everything. Studio time, contracts, a stage. He built me. And then he locked me in. Contracts with insane clauses, surveillance disguised as care. At first, I confused control with protection." She looked at him, eyes watery but steady. "And now you want to run?" "Now I want to live." Davy took the saxophone from his shoulder and laid it across his lap. "Then sing with me." "What? We're not planning an escape. We're not talking about César or fear. Not right now. Just sing with me, like it's just us, just the music." She hesitated, but then slowly she began to sing. No mic, no crowd, just her voice, pure and aching, blending with the sound of his saxophone. The music filled the empty theatre like a prayer. It was a song that didn't need lyrics to be understood. It spoke of pain, of restrained desire, of freedom choking in the throat. When the final note faded, Valentina turned to him. Her eyes were teary, but something sparkled there, the light of someone who remembered who she was. "I need more of this," she whispered. "I need you." "Then stay," he said, gently touching her hand. She returned the touch, a simple gesture, but one full of meaning, surrender, fear, promise. But then, footsteps, heavy, deliberate, rhythmic. Davy jumped up, instinctively shielding Valentina. The side door burst open and a figure stepped from the shadows. It wasn't César. It was Henrique, César's personal assistant, always smiling, always obedient, until now. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, his tone overly polite for the moment. "Mr. Ferraz sends his regards and a warning." Davy clenched his fists. "What kind of warning?" Henrique held up a phone. On the screen, footage from the mansion's security cameras. The kiss, the touch, the betrayal. He knows everything, but he's willing to forgive as long as this ends now. Valentina stood, staring Henrique down with cold defiance. And if it doesn't end? Henrique stepped closer, his tone now deadly serious. Then Davi stops playing, and you stop singing. The silence that followed was brutal. Valentina gripped Davy's arm tightly. Her eyes said, "Forgive me." But her mouth, full of venom and strategy, spoke with icy calm. "Tell Cesar it's over. It was a mistake, a lapse." Henrique nodded, satisfied. "Excellent. He'll be pleased to know his fiancée still knows her place." As he left, Davi turned to Valentina, hurt. "That's it? You gave up?" She stepped closer, her face inches from his, and whispered, "I'm saving us. But you have to trust me." Valentina swore it was all part of a greater plan. But how far is she willing to go? And Davi? Is he ready to risk everything for a love that could destroy his career and maybe his life? Davi couldn't sleep that night. Valentina's words echoed in his mind like dissonant notes from a broken melody. "You have to trust me." But how could he trust someone who, at the first sign of threat, denied her own feelings? The silence of his small, cramped room contrasted harshly with the suffocating luxury of the Fiancée'S mansion, and yet it was in that silence that he began to understand. Valentina wasn't just trying to protect herself, she was fighting with weapons he didn't yet understand. Still, it hurt. The memory of the kiss, the touch of her fingers on his, the way she sang beside him in the abandoned theater. None of it felt false. But now, she had denied him, and he was more exposed than ever. The next day, Davi went to the studio where he used to rehearse with his musician friends. It was an improvised space, with old mattresses on the walls and equipment that barely worked. And yet, it felt like home. "You disappeared," said Luana, his longtime friend and bandmate. "I heard you've been playing at a rich guy's party. Since when are you VIP?" "Since I stepped into a story I never asked to be part of," he replied, sitting down at the keyboard, letting his fingers drift across the keys. Luana watched in silence for a few seconds, then crossed her arms. "This has a name, doesn't it?" "What?" "That look, that mood. It has a woman's name." Davi gave a dry laugh. "Valentina Fiancée'S." Luana's eyes widened. "The singer, Cesar Fiancée'S fiancée? Are you insane?" "I think so." He told her everything. The invitation, the first performance, the kiss, the theater meeting, the threat, the denial. When he finished, Luana stayed silent for a long moment. "You know this guy's dangerous, right? Cesar's not just a businessman. He's got people everywhere. If he wants to wipe you off the map, he can." Davi nodded. "I know, but when she sings with me, it's like the whole world stops. Like she's someone I knew before everything, before the fame, before the golden prison. So, what are you going to do?" He looked at Luana with steady eyes. "I'm going to write. I'll turn this story into music. If he wants to silence me, then he'll have to shut me down publicly, because I'm releasing a song, one she'll hear." Luana swallowed hard. "And if she doesn't respond?" Davi gave a sad smile. "Then at least she'll know someone truly saw her." In the following days, Davi threw himself into writing. The words poured out like confessions. It was a raw ballad, melancholic, full of unspoken passion. He called it Between Notes and Silence. He recorded it with a husky voice and his saxophone as the lead. A simple production, but full of soul. With Luana's help, he uploaded the video to social media. No names, no hype. Just the music and a caption, for those who had to silence their voice to survive. The video went viral within hours, but the most unexpected news came the next night. Luana burst into the studio, out of breath, holding her phone. "You won't believe this." She showed him the screen. Valentina had posted a story. Very short, mysterious. Just an old piano, a lit candle on top, and the sound of between notes and silence playing in the background. No caption, no words. But for Davi, it was everything. She heard it. She responded. 3 days later, a letter arrived for him, handwritten, no return address. He's watching me more than ever. But the music got out. I heard you. And even if everything seems lost, there's still a final note to be played. Go to the address below. Tomorrow, midnight. Bring your saxophone. V. It was an old building on Avenida Angelica, an abandoned recording studio once owned by César's company. Curiously, it had been under renovation for years. Davi felt a chill down his spine. This was a risk, but there was something in that letter. A secret rhythm, a promise. The meeting at the studio could be the beginning of an escape plan, or a trap set by someone who knows exactly how to destroy hearts and reputations. Davi is ready to play the final note. But what about Valentina? Tension and desire continue to intertwine in this forbidden melody. Midnight arrived under a heavy sky and a city wrapped in restless silence. Davi walked down Avenida Angelica like every step was a beat in a symphony he wasn't sure how to end. The address led him to a once grand building now forgotten by time. Studio Fiancée'S, once one of the city's most respected, now looked like a monument to what gets lost when power replaces art. Rusty gates, faded facade, no lights, but the side door was slightly open. Davy entered, saxophone slung over his shoulder, eyes alert to the dark. The inside was a contrast of memory and decay. Instruments covered in dust, torn acoustic panels, old sheet music scattered on the floor. And then the faint light of a candle. She was there, Valentina, sitting at the piano, fingers resting gently on the keys as if playing an imaginary song. She wore a simple dark dress, her hair messily pinned up, as if vanity no longer mattered. She didn't look at him right away. "You came," she said softly, almost in a whisper. "I had to. After that song. After the letter. I couldn't pretend it didn't matter anymore." She lifted her gaze, and all the answers were there. In her teary eyes, her held breath, the slight tremble in her hands. "Davy, I'm living in a silent war. You lit a spark, and now I can't put it out. Then don't. Let's go together. We'll find a way. Run away with me." She laughed, fragile. "Running is what he's waiting for, so he can accuse me of breach of contract, defamation, image damage. He has documents, fabricated evidence. I'd be destroyed." Davy stepped closer and sat beside her on the piano bench. "Then what's the plan?" Valentina looked at the wall in front of them, a dusty frame with an old black and white photo. Musicians smiling, a young girl in the center with bright eyes. It was her, years ago. "The plan is to turn our truth into music, but not just any music, one he can't erase." "A show?" She nodded. "A live performance, broadcasted, no drafts, no edits, just us, here, with the piano, your sax, and the truth. He can delete contracts, silence media, but he can't erase what the whole world has already heard." "That's insane." Davi grinned, captivated by her boldness. "It's risky, it's brilliant, and it's our only chance." They spent the night rehearsing, reviving songs Valentina had written before fame. Lyrics filled with innocence, strength, and truth. Songs César had buried. Davi improvised with his saxophone, making every note speak directly to her heart. The studio echoed with a timeless energy, like ghosts from the past were silently applauding. "You remind me who I was," she said, pausing to look at him, "and who I can still be." "And you make me want to fight," he replied, "because I don't want to just play on the street anymore. I want to play you, everything you represent, the woman who sang with me in the theater, and who now dares to challenge the empire. They looked at each other. There was so much love in that gaze it hurt. And then they kissed, this time without fear. No witnesses, no César, only the music as their witness. When morning came, Davy posted the first announcement, a short video showing the date, the time, and a simple caption. One night, one truth, one final song. Valentina did the same hours later. The internet exploded. But with fame came danger. Hours after her post, Davy's phone rang. Private number. "You think you can expose me like this?" César's cold voice said. Davy stayed silent. "You're digging your own grave, and she's going down with you." Davy clenched the phone. "Then get ready to hear what you tried to silence, César, because this time it'll be loud." César hung up, but the threat had been made. "Wow, are you enjoying this story? The day of the show is near. The world is waiting for the song, but César won't just sit and watch. Spies, sabotage, and traps begin to emerge. Will their love survive the final act? If you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel right now. We've got so many more stories like this just for you. Only 2 days left until the show. The city felt heavier, like it could sense what was coming. Social media boiled with theories, expectations, and rumors about the mysterious performance announced by Valentina Ferraz, already dubbed by the media as the musical betrayal of the century. Behind the scenes, reality was even heavier. Davy woke up every day afraid someone was following him, and truthfully, someone was. On Tuesday afternoon, while crossing the neighborhood to borrow an audio cable, he noticed a black car parked across the street. Same model, same dark reflection in the windshield, same quiet shadow for 2 days in a row. He wasn't being paranoid. They were watching. That night, while rehearsing at the old studio, he told Valentina. She wasn't surprised. "I get anonymous messages every day. There's still time to back out. Your place is beside César. You'll regret this. They're trying to break me before opening night." "You won't break," Davy said firmly. "I won't let you." Valentina stopped playing and looked at him. "Davy, if something happens to me, if I disappear, promise you'll still play. Don't say that." "Promise." He took a breath. "I promise, but only if you promise to come back." She smiled, a fragile smile like a flame dancing in the wind. "That's all I want." The next morning, a blow. Valentina's social media profile disappeared. All the posts, the videos, the show promotion, gone, erased. Davy ran to the studio. He found Valentina sitting on the floor, laptop in her lap, eyes red. "He hacked my account, deleted everything. Said if I get on that stage, he'll sue me, sue you, and anyone behind the broadcast." "That can't be in the contract." "It is. Hidden clauses. All planned. He trapped me inside and out." Davy paced the room, fury in every step. "We can't play fair anymore. What if we stream through an alternate account? Surprise drop. Just at showtime. An anonymous live broadcast. The public is already waiting. They'll find it." Valentina looked up. "It's risky, but it's brilliant." Davy knelt in front of her. "You've already lost your fear. Now all you need is to hold on to your courage a little longer." She pulled him close. The kiss wasn't just passion. It was a promise, a pact, an alliance. On the night of the show, the old studio was transformed. Luana, Davy's friend, brought equipment borrowed from an indie music collective, improvised lights, cables everywhere, a cell phone camera on a central tripod, everything ready for the underground broadcast. At 11:55 p.m., Valentina put on a simple black jumpsuit. Elegant, no jewelry, no heavy makeup, just her. Davy stood by her side, in a white shirt and dark blazer, saxophone in hand. At exactly midnight, the live stream began. Broadcast to the world, Valentina sat at the piano. The first chords rang out softly, then came her voice, sweet, steady, broken with emotion. The song was new, one they had written together. It spoke of invisible prisons, of unheard sounds, of love defying golden fences. When Davy joined in with the saxophone, the internet exploded. Over 800,000 viewers, comments in every language, heart emojis, words of support, typed out cries for freedom. But while the music soared, César Ferraz watched silently from his penthouse, a glass of whiskey in one hand, phone in the other. "Take it down," he said into the phone. "Now." Back in the studio, Luana saw the numbers drop suddenly. "Guys, they're trying to cut the signal." Davy played like there was no tomorrow. Valentina sang like the world was ending, and for her, maybe it was. The video froze for a few seconds, then came back. Audio wavered, but survived. Valentina stood up, walked to Davy. Together they finished the final song. He played, she sang, foreheads touching, bodies in perfect harmony. Then, the last note, silence. Valentina turned to the camera and said, "Now you know, the truth always finds a way to sing." The stream cut out seconds later. The show shook the nation, but consequences came quickly. Lawsuits, harassment, and a mysterious disappearance. Valentina was gone. Davy had turned his back for less than 5 minutes, just enough time to shut down the equipment, take a call from Luana, who was crying and laughing at the same time, and when he returned to the main hall, she was gone. Her phone was left on the piano, silenced, unlocked, but no message explaining her sudden departure. On the bench, a folded piece of sheet music, with one handwritten line, "If I disappear, it's because he came. But this is not the end." Those words haunted Davy for 2 days. Social media was in a frenzy. Articles, interviews, conspiracy theories. Influencers dissected every second of the performance. The hashtag #JerFreeValentina topped global trends, while César Ferraz remained in total silence. Officially, her team said she'd withdrawn for emotional rest after a high-impact event. But Davy knew that disappearance had another name: kidnapping. And no one, absolutely no one, seemed willing to take him on directly. "The police won't get involved," Luana said quietly. "You know that. The guy has judges in his pocket, cops on his donor list. You can't do this alone." "I won't sit still," Davy replied, eyes red but resolute. "Not after everything we went through. She trusted me, made me promise I'd play, keep her music alive, but it wasn't just about the music. She wanted to live." Luana gripped his hand tightly. "She will, but you need proof, something that breaks him, that shows what he really did to her. Only then will he lose control." Davy remembered the phone. Her phone, left behind on the piano. What if there was something on it? The next night, Davy returned to the abandoned studio. Each step echoed between the walls, scented with old wood and rebellion. The phone was still where he had left it, and there, among the deleted messages, a video, unsent, unpublished, just saved. Davy pressed play with trembling hands. Valentina appeared, sitting on the same piano bench, wearing the black jumpsuit, eyes puffy but resolute. "If you're seeing this, it means he came, sooner than I expected." She took a deep breath. "His name opens doors, but it also locks hearts. César took my freedom in exchange for fame. He trapped me in contracts, obligations, in a life that looked perfect, but was a prison with a view of the stage." She looked directly at the camera. "But I loved, truly, I loved Davy. And if he's still out there, if the music is still being heard, then there's hope. He can't silence everything, not while people are still listening." She swallowed hard, holding back tears. "Play, speak, scream for me, for all the voices he smothered with golden silence." A pause. "And if I come back, I want to come back singing." The video ended with the sound of footsteps in the background and her face turning in alarm. Davi stood frozen for minutes. His chest ached, heart pounding as if it were trying to run to her. But now he had something, proof, a weapon, the truth. Hours later, the video was live. Davi posted it without filters, without edits, with a single caption. "She was never silent, we just didn't listen." Within 24 hours, the video surpassed 10 million views. Artists, journalists, activists, former employees of Caesar all began to speak out. One international singer wrote, "Free Valentina, this isn't music, it's captivity." But with the exposure came the risk. By the end of the day, when Davy got home, the door was slightly open. Inside, everything destroyed. Ripped photos, smashed equipment. A note pinned to the wall with a knife. "You wanted to be heard. Now you are. Careful what you wish for." The world was waking up to the truth, but Davi was racing against time. Valentina might be in real danger. And as the threats grew more aggressive, he would have to make the hardest choice: save the woman he loves, or sacrifice everything. The apartment was a wreck. Davi moved between shards of glass, torn sheet music, and the remains of what used to be his life. The note fluttered in the wind from the broken window. The knife, embedded in the wood, said more than any printed word. They were being heard, yes, but now the sound came with threats. Luana arrived 20 minutes later, her face pale at the sight of the destruction. "Are you okay?" she asked, rushing to him. "I'm in one piece, but what's left of my life isn't." His voice was steady, but his eyes said otherwise. "We need to report this, Davi. This isn't just harassment, this is a crime." "Report it to who, Luana? You think someone's going to knock on Cesar Ferraz's door and haul him to the station? The guy has judges in his contacts." She sighed, swallowing her frustration. "So what do we do?" "We finish what we started." That night, Davi hid in an improvised studio in the basement of an alternative bar, a space that welcomed indie artists and unknown musicians, exactly the kind of place where Cesar Ferraz's name held no power. There, Davy recorded what he called the final track. It was a confession in the form of music, a song with Valentina's trembling voice pulled from her farewell video, woven into Davy's saxophone, deep, slow notes, heavy like sobs. He added clips from old interviews, recordings of Cesar boasting about Valentina's artistic freedom, layering them over the evidence of control and emotional imprisonment. The song was an open accusation, a scream against the empire, an act of love and war. He posted it at 3 a.m. Within 4 hours, it was the most shared track on alternative music platforms. By 9 a.m., it was in editorial playlists. By 11 a.m., it was making international headlines. But more powerful than the numbers was the message. At 2 p.m., a message arrived. Unknown number, simple text. "She's alive, but time is running out." Davi froze. The phone almost slipped from his hands. "Luana!" he shouted, and she ran in from the other room. "Someone knows where she is, and they're trying to help." "It could be a trap," she warned. "It could be hope," he replied. The phone vibrated again. Now, a voice message. Davy pressed play with shaking fingers. It was her breathing, short, tense. Then her voice. "Davy, I managed to get this message out. They keep moving me, but I'm in a house. In the countryside. I think it's a ranch. I hear horses, strong smell of hay, and there's music playing far away. Always the same. An old bolero. I don't know how much time I have. Don't stop, please. Don't stop." The message cut off with a sharp noise, like something being ripped away, or a phone snatched forcefully. Davi closed his eyes, his heart pounding like a drum. "We have to find her." Luana stood up. "We will. But not alone." Using the audio as a clue, they began to trace a route. Old boleros, countryside regions near Denver with ranches, farms, or remote studios. Luana contacted a journalist she knew, someone who had once gone head-to-head with powerful politicians. He was interested immediately. Later that day, a message came back. There's a property in the E2 region, bought 2 years ago by a shell company linked to the Fiancée'S group. Large, isolated, under surveillance, almost no permanent staff. Find evidence, I'll bring the press. It was everything they needed. Davy and Luana set off that night. A borrowed car, maps, flashlights. Davy carried his saxophone in the back seat. Why bring that? Luana asked, curious. Because if I find her, I want to play when she wakes up. The road to E2 was dark and deserted. The tension in the car was almost tangible. When they spotted the tall walls of the farm, Davy's heart began to race. Inside, the only light came from the main house. The sound of an old bolero drifted through the windows, almost like a secret signal. This was it. Davy clenched his fists. I'm coming for you, Valentina. Davy had reached Valentina's hideout. Now their love would face its final test. Between guards, threats, and a slim chance of escape, what would prove stronger? Fear or music? This was the moment. The night hung heavy over E2. Tall trees surrounding the estate swayed in the strong wind, as if whispering ancient secrets. Davy stood before the stone wall, heart racing, his saxophone quiet in the back seat. We've got 20 minutes, Luana whispered. The journalist is dropping the location at 3 a.m. If we're still here, it'll turn into a circus. I just need to find her. Then we run, Davy replied, eyes locked on the main house, where a warm yellow light spilled from one window. They circled around the back past the stables. The bolero echoed in the distance, just like in Valentina's voice message. The same song, repeating on loop, as if someone wanted her to lose track of time. A sonic prison. They found a side door, slightly ajar. Luana stood watch while Davy entered. Every step was a risk. His heart pounded like a live percussion, but he wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about Valentina's eyes, the way she sang when she was free. The kiss in the theater, the melody she let slip on the abandoned piano. He climbed the stairs slowly. Long, silent hallways. Then, a sound, a weak voice. I won't sing for you anymore. Davy followed the voice. He gently pushed open a door. The room was large but dark, windows boarded shut. An old radio on the dresser played the same song on repeat. And there, sitting on the edge of the bed, facing the door, Valentina, hair loose, pale face, but her eyes, they still burned with fire. When she saw him, her shock was instant. Then her eyes welled with tears. Davy. He ran to her, kneeling in front of her. I came for you. She embraced him with desperate strength, her face buried in his neck, her body trembling. They keep me here, take my phone, drug me sometimes, but I knew you'd hear me. Davy held her face. We're getting out, now. But before they could move, a metallic click and a voice that froze the air. What a touching scene! César Ferraz was there, standing in the doorway, impeccable suit, cold expression, but his eyes burned with fury. I thought you were a smart artist, Davy. Turns out you're just another lovesick idiot. Valentina stood, positioning herself between César and Davy. It's over, César. You won't silence me again. You really think this little play changes anything? I still own everything, the labels, the radios, the lawyers, your entire career. But I'm not yours anymore, she said, voice steady. And that you'll never have again. César stepped forward, but then sirens in the distance, then closer. Headlights pierced through the boarded window, tires screeched, voices shouted. You called the press, César growled. And the police, Davy said. Luana appeared at the door, holding up her phone with a triumphant smile. All of it. Live. Recorded. Cesar looked around, eyes bloodshot. This won't end well for you. Maybe not, Valentina replied, gripping Davi's hand. But it will end free. When the officers entered, it felt like the end of a grand performance. Cesar resisted, but his shouts were swallowed by the commotion outside. Weeks later, Valentina was singing again, but this time on her own label, independent, free. Her first performance after the scandal took place at the very theatre where she and Davi had shared their first kiss, now restored and packed. Davi stepped onto the stage with her, saxophone over his shoulder. "Ready?" he asked. "I've always been. I just needed to remember the sound of my own voice." The audience gave a standing ovation before she even sang a note. And when she started to sing, the whole city listened. No contracts, no fear, just music, just love. And standing beside her, Davy knew that there, between forbidden notes and liberated truths, they had written the most beautiful song of all. Time passed, and the theatre where everything began again was now filled with children. Valentina watched from the back of the stage, seated on a wooden chair, her smile a mix of tenderness and awe. They laughed, ran between the instruments, some trying to blow off-key flutes, others tapping piano keys like they were casting spells. "You think any of them will want to sing for real?" Davi asked, appearing beside her, saxophone over his shoulder as always. Valentina looked at him with that calm spark in her eyes. "They already are. They just need to remember that when they grow up." He sat beside her and took her hand in his. "Got any ideas for what we're going to name this project?" he asked, nodding to the colourful drawings taped to the walls of the new music institute they'd founded together. She laughed. "Free notes? Too literal. The sound of us? Too romantic." She pretended to think, then whispered, "What if it's forbidden to be silenced?" Davi looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "It's perfect." Please, in the 2 years since Cesar Ferraz's fall, Valentina hadn't just rebuilt her career, she had redefined what it meant to be an artist. She turned down million-dollar contracts, founded her own label, produced her first fully original album, and became a symbol of resistance in the music world. Between Notes and Silence, the song Davi had written for her won Song of the Year and was used in campaigns against psychological abuse and emotional manipulation in relationships. But the greatest prize of all was now right there. Among those children, the Forbidden to be Silenced Institute offered free music classes for vulnerable boys and girls, and there, no note was censored, no voice silenced. Valentina still sang, Davi still played, but now they did it with lightness, without fear. That night, after the last student had left, she stayed alone on stage. Davi, standing at the back of the room, watched. She sat at the piano and played the same melody from the abandoned theatre, the one born from pain, and now blooming in freedom. He walked toward her slowly, and she sang just for him. "Do you still love me like before?" she asked softly. Davy smiled. "No." She raised an eyebrow. "I love you more." And then he kissed her. The audience was empty, but the music still echoed, and always would. Thank you for being here and watching my story. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more stories like this one. And don't forget to leave a like. It really helps our channel grow and reach more people who love emotional videos like this. The next story is already popping up on your screen, full of drama and passion that will stir your emotions and keep your heart racing. Stick with me and let's dive into this new journey together. See you soon, my dear friends. Catch you in the next video.